What up, YouTube? This is Steven, and I'm back with some news regarding Miss Ayumi Hamasaki. So this one is for the Ayumites out there. Alright, so this news is a little dated, but nevertheless is really important, and I want to share it with you guys. So I got this news from aramajapan.com, so thanks a lot to Arama Japan. Shout out to them. The title of the news article is Ayumi Hamasaki releases surprise album Made in Japan via AWA streaming service. So, yeah, it seems like Ayumi Hamasaki has pulled a quote-unquote Beyoncé and released a surprise album entitled Made in Japan via a streaming service known as AWA, AWA. All right, so when I heard, I was like, really? I was like, that's a little different for Ayumi Hamasaki, and also a little risky too, just because a lot of people ain't really feeling Ayumi Hamasaki at the moment. And like a lot of the releases she's, a lot of the albums and whatnot that she's released, like a lot of people haven't been buying it as much as they did, say, 10 years ago. But I'll read through this article, give my thoughts and opinions, and yeah, so here we go. Ayumi Hamasaki has released a surprise album exclusively through the music streaming service AWA. So it seems like they may have some sort of a partnership involved here, where Ayumi is working exclusively with this streaming service so that she'll get some type of some type of monetary compensation while their streaming service gets promotion. Only launched 1 year ago, AWA hopes to introduce music streaming to a much more broader audience in Japan. So yeah, they just launched a year ago, and from what I've heard, streaming music isn't extremely popular in Japan. So yeah, this is probably part of the reason why the streaming company is doing this. From their end, they want to use someone who is popular. So Ayumi Hamasaki is ultimately she is popular, not so much at the moment, but she's popular within the big scheme of musical artists. Based on her legacy, and some people are someone's gonna check for the album. It's not like Ayumi is some just flavor of the moment. Ayumi is much more than a flavor of the moment. She was like a game changer when she came into the scene. Came onto the scene. All right, next, the service was developed by Avex Tracks and Cyber Agent Inc. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that Avex was involved in this at all. But then again, I guess I should have known. I mean, Ayumi, well, I don't know. I didn't imagine Avex being involved in this, just because I guess I didn't imagine the streaming service being associated with Avex. But nevertheless, it's it's pretty cool that Ayumi was able to do something like this. But yeah, so AVEX is involved in this, so that's good for Ayumi Hamasaki because she is working with a company that she is familiar with. So hopefully it'll be less, kind of like drama, possibly less paperwork as well, and ultimately good for Ayumi Hamasaki. Right, next, a couple of days ago, AWA teased some exciting news regarding IU, leading many fans to speculate a new single or album announcement. Okay, all right, so the fans are speculating, so you got their attention and seem like they're checking for it. Made in Japan, quote unquote, Made in Japan is Ayumi's 17th studio album. It contains 10 tracks and it will be made available for purchase physically and at other online retailers on June 29th. So it's going to be a minute before the rest of the public, especially people who are not in Japan, because from what I've heard, this streaming service is only available to Japanese residents. So it's going to be a minute before everyone else can get it, you know, the international fans. But the title of the album is going to be called Made in Japan, and it's going to contain 10 tracks. And, you know, again, it'll go on sale June 29th of this year. So, yeah, pretty cool. But yeah, that is a bit of a wait, you know. I'm not sure why they're making the wait so long. I could see, like, because this news came out a while ago, a little bit, you know, a little longer than you may think, just in case this is maybe your first time hearing about this news. But yeah, this news came out, I think around probably, say, mid-May or a little before mid-May. So yeah, it's gonna be a minute, you know, probably like a month and a half, more or less, um, for the before the fans can get the album physically. They can listen to it if you are a Japanese resident living in Japan, or if you're just living in Japan. Yeah, you can listen to the album, but you can't really, like, if you aren't in Japan, then you can't really take advantage of this opportunity here, which sucks. You know, I wish that I wish that Ayumi and her people would kind of think about her international fans a little bit more often when they do, you know, things like this. But on the other hand, I can understand why they would do this, because they want to, you know, limit piracy, you know, and piracy is a big deal, so they probably don't want to make it available to like every single person, you know, just like Japan. But piracy can still happen. I know that Japan probably is more likely to not have piracy issues, you know, bootlegging and piracy issues than other countries, perhaps. But still, this is probably gonna happen anyway. All right. So next, Ayumi will support the album by embarking on the quote-unquote Arena Tour 2016 A, Made in Japan, starting in May. And the tour concludes on July 18th. Naturally, AWA is not available for listeners living outside of Japan, so most of us have to wait a bit before hearing the album in full. And also that sucks too, because these, like, they're getting, like, Japanese residents, or the Japanese public, they're getting a preview. Like, pretty much they get to listen to the album and decide whether they want to purchase it or not. And they get to listen to it in full and to make that decision, while the international fans don't get that option. You know, we would just have to go off of reviews, or either just, like, you know, go search for the MP3s and, you know, hope we can find them. You know. So the track list for this album is as follows, and I don't know if these are listed in order of appearance on the album or not, but probably they are at this moment. All right, the first one is called Tasky, so I'm guessing got some English up in here. Next is Flower. So Ayumi's gonna be singing about, you know, I guess being a tasky woman, whatever that means. And then she's gonna be singing about flowers. Then next we have Mad World, so she's gonna be going crazy in this song and singing about how crazy and mad our world is. The fourth song is called Breakdown. So either she's going to have a mental or nervous breakdown, or either she's going to break down something to some dude she's been seeing. Like, let me break this down for you. Yeah. Number 5 is called Survivor. So, you know, this wasn't mentioned, but possibly she could be doing like a Japanese cover of, you know, Destiny's Child song. You know, like, I'm a survivor, I'm not gonna give up. Could you imagine Ayumi singing that song? Yeah, me too. Next song is called You Are the Only One. So it's like, you are the only one. Ooh, 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 you. Ooh, ooh. So I guess it's gonna be like a love song or something. Right. Next song is called Today. So she's gonna be singing about um, her day today. All right. Next song is called Mr. Darling. So she's gonna either be singing about like um, Clarissa Darling's dad from Clarissa Explains It All, maybe, or either she's going to be singing about a guy she would like to have, perhaps. Maybe her like ideal guy. Ain't she married though? But whatever. I heard there was trouble in paradise. Not my business, but I'm just saying. um, Next song is called Summer Love. So she's gonna be, getting some love in the summer. And summer's coming around, right around the corner from now. So, Ayumi is planning her summer love, y'all. She planning for it. She gonna kick her husband to the curb and gonna have a summer fling up in here. Or either she just gonna have the summer fling and still keep her husband, like, as her main dude, but just, knock off some other dudes on the side. That's what you're supposed to do when you have a lot of money like Ayumi Hamasaki. Just, enjoy yourself. So good for you, Ayumi. The last song is definitely a cover song. It's called Many Classic Moments, and it's by Globe. Globe was very popular during the 90s, and Ayumi did a cover of this song that was also very popular during the 90s. I believe so. Yeah, definitely. Called, again, Many Classic Moments. And I listened to the cover. That's probably the only song I listened to off this album, or that I could listen to. And I really enjoyed the song. And I also went back and listened to the original song too. And it's kind of almost, the lead singer from Globe, or the vocalist from Globe, and Ayumi Hamasaki, like both of their voices sound really similar. They have this kind of like a similar, tone and pitch with their voice. So I was like, okay, this, to an extent, it's kind of like almost listening to the song again by the same artist, but just reworked a little bit. But it's kind of tough to choose. I think I would probably choose Ayumi Hamasaki's version as the better version, just because it's probably a bit more modernized. But I think both versions are great, though. So ultimately, it seems like Ayumi is pulling a Beyoncé, but not quite. No, not quite, because Beyonce released the actual album, while here Ayumi is giving like us a preview of the album, but not actually giving us the full album to purchase. While Beyonce gave us the full album to purchase, if you please. But I don't think anyone in Japan has done this, at least not in a while, and not from what I've heard of. So, kudos to Ayumi for kind of like being on trend, or at least helping, kind of like doing something different, possibly even setting a trend for Japanese artists to follow, maybe, But the thing is, like, a lot of Japanese artists probably want to be able to get away with this, Um, like, no shade, but I couldn't imagine, like, say, Nami Tamaki doing this, Again, no shade. But you would probably have to be an artist that is, in a situation like Ayumi Hamasaki, where she has, like, such a strong legacy to do something like this. And she's been around for so long to be able to do something like this. And also has been successful for so long, too. And like I said, I wasn't able to listen to this album because obviously I don't live in Japan. However, I did read the comments section, and a lot of people were giving it positive reviews. And the people in the comments section don't keep it real. They're going to keep it 100. If the album sucked, they're going to say it sucked, But I heard like a lot of positive comments in the comments section. And there were a lot of them too. It wasn't like just one out of like, 50. But there were a lot of positive comments, and I didn't really see any negative comments when I checked. And, people were saying like, this is the, one person like, this is the best work she's done in years. So it kind of makes me more interested to hear this album now, Perhaps this might help Ayumi kind of make somewhat of a comeback, And also, I kind of thinking, okay, it seemed like Ayumi didn't get the message that Utada Hikaru was coming back because she releasing an album, like Homegirl releasing an album. Like I warned these, J-pop divas, these J-pop chicks here. I warned them just in case they ain't get the mission. Like I put this out here on the internet, so you need to get some new people, Ayumi, because you ain't supposed to be releasing music when Utada Hikaru is making a comeback. Like you ain't get that message, but then again, Namie Amuro didn't get the message either. So it seemed like these chicks are kind of like stepping to Utada here. They're like, hey, like who you like? Why you coming back now? Like we've been here, so I think you need to adjust to us. But Utada Hikaru is like, hey, I can do what I want and sell a ton of records while doing what I want. Ayumi, can Ayumi, can you do what you want and sell a ton of records, Ayumi? I don't think so. But as far as Namie and Utada are concerned, it's like, she probably like, hey, Utada to Namie is like, like, didn't I usurp your throne back in the day? Like, you didn't learn your lesson then? You still around here? And then Namie is like, she's like, first of all, you ain't take nothing from me. I went on break and came back and still had a successful career after that. You went on your hiatus for years, and who's to blame? That's your fault. Like, why I gotta adjust to you because you coming back? So basically, we sound like we're gonna have some sort of At first, I thought it was just gonna be between Namie and Utada Hikaru, but now it seems like Ayumi Hamasaki wants to get in on the action too. So we possibly could have like a three-way battle of the queens of J-pop going on here, because Ayumi is releasing an album. Utada Hikaru is supposed to be releasing an album at some point, and Namie Amuro is releasing a single. So we could have some sort of a chart battle here, going on. At least because it's going to probably be between like the singles that be like Namie versus Utada. Then for the albums, it'd be like Ayumi versus Utada. So it seemed like, I don't know, this could be all hyped up. They could have got together and like, hey, let's do this and, make a big deal about it. Or either they're just like, whatever, I'm releasing my music and I ain't adjusting to nobody, But sorry about that sidebar. I ain't mean to go, totally off subject here. But thanks a lot for watching, guys. Feel free to comment. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to give me a thumbs up. Your feedback and support are extremely appreciated and extremely valued. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.